to our live coverage here at the AWS New York City Summit. I'm Am Grabelny, one of your hosts for the day, joined by my BFF, for the moment at least.
You wore the hat for me, didn't you?
I did.
All
How'd
right.
you know?
Just a wild guess. Hey, everyone. My name is Adrian San Miguel. I'm a partner enterprise architect. Joined by my partner in crime, the individual that is responsible for me being here for the most part. And I understand we're going to be talking about some pretty interesting things with Nupur. Nupur, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nupur. I'm the Senior Product Manager for Amazon Q Apps, and I'm excited to be here with you.
So, productivity. Some of us can achieve it. Some of us struggle with it, maybe. I won't name names.
You didn't
So,
name it.
when we're thinking of Amazon Q Apps, and we're thinking about productivity, right? We've all experienced repetition in our jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that at the heart of what Amazon Q Apps is really trying to set out and solve for us?
Absolutely. This is for everybody. I want to just lay it out there. It's not, you don't need technical skills. You don't need to be a programmer for this. This is meant for all business users. It's meant to help you create these lightweight but secure enterprise-ready applications that help you do the work that you do every day. So this is for any business process. So you're a sales manager, a marketing associate. You do repetitive work. You create sales pitches. You create marketing blog posts. How can you use your enterprise data to do this work faster, better, more efficiently? So we can give back time for that lunch we just rushed you from, Adrian.
Hey, I don't eat much of anything anyway, but you actually bring up a really good point because many of our peers in technology lately, they're having to burn the extra midnight oil on that repetition. Like, oh, I got to go stage this, I got a demo to run, I got to do this workshop, and it gets very difficult to get that time back because we feel the need to be over-indexing on owning everything and having our fingers on it. But it definitely sounds like Q Apps is going to make that a lot easier for us.
It is. It is. It is. I think at the heart of this, as Am was saying, right, it's about productivity, but it's productivity that you can own. You are empowered to do it. I'm not waiting for somebody on my IT team to put me on their backlog, and when I'm prioritized, I can, get this tool made for, my productivity improvement. This is available for me. It is connected to my enterprise knowledge, so it's, getting me the answers and grounded in that data. Better than talking about it, let me just show it to you.
Yeah,
Could we
yeah,
just
would love to.
bring it up the demo?
Let's tempt those live demo gods. Let's do it.
I know, we're always tempting. OK.
All right, we should be able to see your screen.
Alrighty. See, they're already acting up. I'm telling you.
That's right.
Can't trust them. Can't take them anywhere.
That's right.
Don't tempt them.
So as they're getting your screen pulled up, maybe we could talk about, and maybe this is what you'll discuss in your demo, but from me discovering that Amazon Q Apps exists to solving a problem with it.
Yep.
Are we gonna see the full workflow?
I'm going to get into how you will actually use it in your day-to-day lives.
Okay.
Let's skip the setup part. The setup is part of Amazon Q Business.
Okay.
We announced Amazon Q Business at reInvent last year. It was generally available in April, and it's been around for a few months. A lot of customers are loving what they can do with Amazon Q Business.
Okay.
So Q Apps is offered currently as a feature of Amazon Q Business, and it inherits all the good stuff that you get with Q Business.
Okay.
So you're connecting it to your data sources with 40+ connectors available. That's available to Q Apps by default. You have guardrails that are set up. You have user access permissions that Q Business respects. Amazon Q Apps gets all of that goodness by default.
Wow.
Okay. I think we got your screen up now too, so we can
OK, perfect.
see it in action.
Yeah.
So this is the Q Business web app. Many of us viewers would be familiar with it. It looks like this interface. Let me start by talking to it about, I'm a sales assistant. I'm doing some work. I'm saying, OK, what are the guidelines to pitch and any company product? So I've very creatively come up with the name of a company. It's any company. And Q, in its fashion, is responding, right? It's getting the data, and you can see these references, a citation. It's grounded it, in data I'd already given it. Now I'm going to say, can you just create a sales pitch for a specific product, say any coffee? Again, a very creative name. Now, as a sales manager, I'm doing this repeatedly, right? I'm doing it like multiple times a day for different customers, for different products. Do I want to have this back and forth conversation each time? Probably not. And here, I can just, at the click of a button, encapsulate and transform this entire conversation into an app. So what this is doing, and like you're saying, you're attempting demo God, so it's running a little slower, but it just takes a matter of seconds to take this entire conversation and convert it into an app that you can reuse again, fill in any product in your portfolio, fill in, get the details, and I can share it. So right now, what we're looking at is...
Do you mind, real quick, sorry, can you maybe Control Plus, make the font size a little bit bigger?
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Great,
Yeah.
perfect, thank you.
Okay, so here, the conversation I just had with Q has been encapsulated into this, problem statement of sorts that I'll use to generate the app. So it's saying, I want to build an app that takes a product name as an input. So it's generalized it. It's not saying it's going to be any coffee all the time. And it creates, a sales pitch that uses my brand guidelines and best practices that is known to the system. That's its cue to say, data that is already connected to Q. Use that. So I'm going to go hit generate, and this is what's going to give me an app. For our viewers who are familiar with Party Rock, this is going to, ring some bells here.
Yeah, I was about to say this seems very. We met with the Party Rock team earlier today.
Yes.
It feels familiar.
It does. So we've added some other capabilities to it, but I think it started with Party Rock, and our enterprise customers said, hey, you need to make this work for us. And like all work back approaches that we take from the customer, this was born where we ground it in an enterprise data. We give you all the security measures. And of course, we've added some bells and whistles where you can take a conversation and translate it into an app. So let's get to this. We have, my what we call cards here in a Q app context, an input card, a text output card, which is a sales pitch. I can enter here a product name, and it'll generate the sales pitch. I want to quickly get into what this looks like in the config panel here. If I edit the card, you'll see it's generated that prompt for me. I didn't have to write it. The Q app creator went ahead and generated. If I had multiple input cards, it would actually do those at references in the prompt itself, create those dependencies, run those dependencies. And I didn't have to do any of it. I just described it in like plain English. Another thing I want to get everybody's attention to is this is something we launched just today as part of the keynote. We announced it. Is this approved sources capability. So far, all your questions to Q were going to the entire index, that entire repository.
Right.
Now, I want to use, for my sales pitch, only the guidelines that are relevant for the US market. I don't want to use the guidelines that are for EU because they're different. I can focus my responses to come just from that data source for US. So if you've set up a SharePoint or Confluence or some other data source, you can pick and choose at a card level, making it really accurate.
That was going to be a question I had was, I think you mentioned something like 40 earlier, 40 data sources. What are the most common data sources that you see customers utilizing?
We see them all over the place. Like we see SharePoint, we see S3, Confluence. Confluence actually one of the popular ones. There's some new ones coming up.
Cool.
Regularly. We also have a custom data source, so you can link it to anything else that you want.
I love it. That's great.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then when I run it, it's going to give me the same output. So let's put any coffee here and run this baby. While we're waiting for it to run, I want to, draw everybody's attention to, these are just two cards. Like cards are these widgets which allow me to either input or get an output. We have a lot of options, and we're going to keep adding to it. So it's a user input, you get a text output. These are the two options you see. I can also upload a file. So imagine you have, a job description, and you want to say, if I want to hire for this role, what kind of questions can I ask the candidate? Upload that job description as a file and ask, Q app to generate questions for you. In fact, if you were going to use Q app, say I'm an Adrian, you could build one for yourself saying, we interview so many guests on this show. I'm going to just upload, about their products and let the Q app figure out what questions I should ask them. And it'll save you a ton of time, I think.
That's very interesting.
I think it will save a ton of time.
Wow.
I'm down.
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, totally going to do it.
Okay, and then there's of course some plugins which allow you to take actions in third-party applications. So you can create a Jira ticket. So if I wanted to add a plugin card here and say do a follow-up task on the sales pitch and get back with the customer, some associate on my team needs to follow up, I can do that too.
Okay.
So it seems like it's significantly more than just automating the simple task. It's being able to give you that visibility to the life cycle of the workflow. Like do the thing, go do, follow up.
It's
That's pretty awesome.
orchestrating all of that workflow because it's supposed to replicate your business process. It's supposed to take your mind off those repetitive things you do. And finally, when you're happy with it, you're satisfied, you can publish it to what we call the apps library. So say for the sales team, I want to share it with everybody. I'm going to go hit publish. And now it's available in this shared library, which everybody in my company has access to. So you've not just improved your productivity, it's a team productivity accelerator.
Now that's pretty awesome. I could see an app being built by a customer or even by a partner that says, hey, this is how we go through and prospect. These are the type of questions we ask. Hey, we're doing technical discovery for services. These are the most common trip points. Let's go ahead and get ahead of them. I actually learned today the Hybrid Edge customer that ran into a weird corner case that we've only ever seen like 3 times in the history of the service, that it kind of got all hands on deck. And instead of treating it as an anomaly, we're going to use it as a learning point where we can go through and make sure in the future as we're doing these validations, let's be sure that we tick these boxes. And now looking at this is the perfect place to use it, to make sure that in the future we have that prescribed workflow that if we somehow find ourselves in that situation, we can go through and know exactly what we need to do to get out of it, memorialize it, move on.
Absolutely. We've seen teams internally as well build these tools. Say, if you've seen an issue come up, what is, the path to, solve the 5 whys on what went wrong.
Yeah.
And, look at the whole code base and say, where do you see that anomaly occurring and what would you do next? So they have apps like this all over.
I was going to say one of the things that springs to my mind is, one of the hardest things that I've experienced in my career is when you have a run book, right? And you're in the middle of an outage or a disaster and you're trying to recover and you have all these run books and you're trying to search through, okay, this has happened. I need to find what step to take next, right? But instead, if you have perhaps one of these Amazon Q apps, load all the run books as data sources, I can start describing my situation, tell me what the run book tells me to do. Maybe it sounds like using these plugins, you could even reach out and do some of those steps.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's exactly somebody, I think internally one of the teams had done in AWS, that they had ingested their run books and they said, I'm not going to read all of this. At that time, whatever was my question, the customer complaint or the issue that I'm seeing, I'm going to enter that and let the Q app read that run book for me and tell me exactly what I need to do next. So it's for, like I said, all knowledge workers, all business users. Even developers need that kind of accelerated help. So very quickly, I want to also share, we just announced in Matt's keynote that this is generally available. And with that, we also announced APIs for Q apps. So until today, we were just looking at this web UI and you had to come here to create and run these Q apps. With APIs available, we can now have you embed these in your tools of choice. So wherever your work is being done for you, Q apps can be there. It's part of your workflow.
Yeah, I can definitely see service provider partners, managed service partners, even just your traditional, we're going to help come in as a consultancy, leverage Q apps to get exactly what you made mention, both of you. Memorialize the knowledge, take it out of somebody's head, document it, programatize, and then use that to scale so that you're not having to search through a 200-page operations guide. You go ask the question specifically, and at that point, you can start leveling up your knowledge. You don't need to go out and hire a bunch of ultra-savvy, I built carrier networks for telcos for years, when you're trying to debug a network thing, because you've taken that memory, those processes, you put them into the app, you go ask the question. So somebody junior or very early in their career, they can go and still go do the fix without having to have that level of knowledge. That I think can be transformational.
Yeah, it's knowledge sharing, it's standardization of best practices, and it's really helpful for, you're absolutely right, for the newer employees, right? We were talking to big customer just this morning,
Okay.
and the first thing that popped in their mind was, we want to use this for new employer onboarding. Like
yeah.
there's so much information that we throw at them. Like how can this accelerate their their productivity, improve their onboarding experience? Like yes, absolutely it can.
Yeah, I work on at AWS. I work on the game day team, as you all watching know, because we just did game day. But we have a whole process for building game day content, and it requires programming and a specific architecture and all these like pieces, and we have all these guides and all these things. I am really interested in checking out Amazon Q apps to make like an onboarding for game day Quest developers, for example, because I think this, like what you just said, springs. And I think this is probably something you hear all the time, isn't it? Every time you talk to people about this, I'm sure you hear, wow, actually, I'm having like all these ideas come to mind, right?
Absolutely. I think it's not just who we're talking to. It's about when I'm talking to different people, they're automatically sparking ideas in my head. So, for example, while I'm talking to you, I'm like, oh, all these comments and narration that you're going to see from this session, how do you mine that information to know what did people like about it, what did people not like about it? If you could just download that and put it in a Q app and let it say, what did people like most about this particular session, what was most talked about, were they comparing it to something they've seen elsewhere? It can answer all those questions for you.
So in that same vein, you're having all these conversations, people are having all these ideas. What are some of the most exciting ones that you've heard personally?
Okay, that's a tough one.
Of course.
I'm
Picking your favorite child.
I know. I'm easily excited when I hear customer stories. Just one that, a couple of them I think were interesting. One of them was how a customer is using it to respond faster to RFPs. So these requests for proposals come in.
Okay.
They're all slightly different, right? The customer wants, A, but customer B wants like something slightly different. And when you're responding to those questions, you have to rewrite those responses. Legal has to review them. Then somebody else is okaying them. That whole process used to take them long. With Q apps, they have fed their responses to the common questions, and as soon as an RFP comes in, it generates that response for them for the specific questions in the language their new customer wants them. And they're saving like 20% of the time they take to respond to RFPs. It's cutting their sales cycle, and like that's mind-blowing. That means more new business. That means you can do more strategic work. It's exciting.
So at a previous job, we had a hackathon, right, where everybody in the company got to build something. The team that I was on built an RFP automation tool, right?
Oh, wow.
And we won the hackathon with it.
Okay.
But it took a bunch of us, like as engineers, to build this, right? And we had to build a bunch of custom code, run it places, and it was very deterministic, right? It was like, if you have this, select this button, and then it'll do that. It was very, if-then type thing. It's just wild. That was maybe 8 years ago, right? So it's just amazing to me how quickly things have evolved to where we're at right now. Because you don't need a program. You don't need me to build something like what
we need you to do something else here.
That's right. That's right. You don't need me to create all the code for you because you can do it now.
Everybody can do it.
Which that wasn't my main job. I had to do it in a hackathon, right? So I didn't have the time to do it anyways. So this is such an augmentation of all our skills.
I think you nailed it. It's almost like an augmentation and a concentration where you're taking the goodness and the institutionalized knowledge and you're making it easily accessible. Knowledge is definitely freedom, and the better that you're able to aggregate that knowledge and share it, you want your non-traditional IT person or a business user to be able to ask these questions and feel empowered to go build things, because at the end of the day, they go and build, they get more confident, they want to start doing more things, and at the end of the day, all you're doing is skilling up for relatively nothing.
I love
Absolutely.
Well, any parting words for the people watching, where to get started, what they should build first? What do you think?
There's no limit to what you should build. There is no typical workflow. But yes, to get started, get set up with your Amazon Q business instance. You can access it through your AWS console. Set that up. It's going to be breeze. And then get right into building your Q apps. And we'd love to hear from you what you're building.
All right, there we go.
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. For those of you watching, we're going to be right back. So stay there. We're going to be back.